Our reading is from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentary on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. This week's topic, How Devotees Rise. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Last week, we asked the question, why do devotees fall? And we considered the downfall of Judas in this context. Jesus, in answer to Judas's criticism for allowing Mary to rub his feet with spikenard, a very costly ointment, said, "The poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always." Jesus is saying here that there is one supreme injustice that needs eradication. Poverty, yes, but not of the material kind. Poverty in a spiritual sense. Divine blessings are not common in this world. They are extraordinary. When they come, we should give them priority above every other consideration. Never allow a moment of inner joy, for instance, to be set aside for lesser duties. Divine attunement is our highest priority. As Lahiri Mahashaya, the guru of Yogananda's guru, said, to listen to the heart's inner sound, Om, which issues from the very center of our being, is man's highest duty. Mary, on this occasion, was not communing in inner silence with Christ's Spirit, as she had been when Martha urged Jesus to reproach her for not helping out in the kitchen. Mary this time was serving outwardly, but in a very different spirit from the restless fussing for which Jesus had reprimanded her sister Martha. Those who see a radical difference between the paths of action and meditation should understand this distinction. To serve in the right spirit is necessary, for only thereby can we overcome our karmic tendencies toward restless activity. The important thing is that that spirit be always inwardly focused, that in everything we do, we act in loving service to the Lord. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 3rd chapter, the state of freedom from action, that is, of eternal rest in the spirit, cannot be achieved without action. No one, by mere renunciation and outward non-involvement, can attain perfection. Whenever the Spirit of God descends upon you, however, remember the words of Jesus, me ye have not always with you. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Gangamata and I share Sunday services on a frequent basis, and Swami Kriyananda gave us kind of a leg up, if you will, in the sense that he sorted for spiritual topics and he kind of laid them out across a year. And it's what the services are harnessed to. And we spoke last week, I saw Sunday coming, I'll say these 2 topics coming, and Gangamata had offered to speak last week and give the service. And then I knew I was going to give the following. Well, these 2 are bracketed together: why devotees fall and how devotees rise. And we don't talk usually before Sunday service about the topic. We prepare for the week and stuff. But usually it's just, we're just doing it ourselves and kind of sorting for it. But I could feel impending doom coming for me. Because her topic was why devotees fall. And I knew this wasn't going to get any traction at all with her. And so I asked her, I said, what are you going to talk about for service this week? And she basically went through her talk, and I said, well, that's all about how devotees rise. Are you going to talk about why devotees fall? And she said, well, okay. And so she rewrote it a little bit, and she pitched it back to me, and it was how devotees rise. And so I said, well, what about this and that and the other? And she did manage to give a nod to it last week. For those who were here, she gave a little nod. But then the rest of it was she spoke about how devotees rise. And I thought, okay, I'm cooked. There's a cute story about the minister who asked the day before the Sunday service, he asked the new assistant minister to give the early service. And the man said, well, I haven't prepared what I'm going to do. And the minister said, God will provide. And he said, that doesn't help. Well, that morning he was going to service. He still didn't know what he was going to say. He saw some papers blowing across the lawn. He went over and picked them up. And they were the service notes for the senior minister's talk. And so he went in and he gave that talk. And the senior minister looked at him afterwards and said, what did you do? What am I going to do now? And the assistant minister just said, God will provide. So I'm going to use her as a part of the talk. The way we fall, really, the way we fall, is a little bit captured in this next little story. And it's about 2 little boys that were mischievous, really mischievous, and they were always getting in trouble at Sunday service and Sunday school and whatever else they attended. And finally, one of them alone was at the service this week, but the minister decided that he had had enough, and he was going to really try and put the fear of God into this little boy and get his attention. And so he took him into a room, and he looked at him and said, where is God? And he said, where is God? And the little boy didn't know what to say, didn't say anything. Where is God? The little boy looked in terror and ran out of the room and ran home. And he said to his brother, we're in real trouble. God's missing and they think we did it. How devotees fall is we start to put our minds in places where we are separate. It's that simple. And unfortunately, it's that easy. When God created this universe, he wove into the story a tremendous power that the East calls Maya and the West calls Satan. And what it is it's simply a force of consciousness that's sole purpose is to make things that are not true look true. And if you want to understand for yourself, because the spiritual path is not someplace else, it's not a good idea, it's not what Jesus did, it's not what these masters did, it's what we are doing every day. It's the search for true and lasting happiness and wholeness from inside out. So just ask yourself, close your eyes for just a moment if you feel to, and ask yourself, when was the last time that you were certain something was going to bring you happiness and it didn't? And think about all of the energy you invested in that thing to get it, to hold on to it, to try and get it to give you the happiness you wanted. And the frustration that grew across time, the more you wanted happiness from that thing, the more frustration grew inside of you at the inability for it to give you what you were looking for. That's the power of Maya. And the power of Maya is woven into every aspect of creation. It's not some little guy with a forked thing and a forked tail and horns. It's the consciousness that God put into the story to help keep the story going. And its purpose is to turn us away from the light. What I realized, in the story last week, in the reading last week, what it said is the moment, a wrong thought, a thought of something external will bring me happiness, revenge, children, kids, parents, job, money, anything external, the second that thought shows up is the time to snuff it. It's the time to turn the energy and attention someplace else. Because once you start going down a road, it has its own power. It has its own capacity to carry you. Everybody here, we've all gone swimming in streams at one time or another. Well, if you go swimming in a stream, you're on the bank and you're just kind of watching, right? That's what happens with, we see something, I think this will bring me happiness. It can be the path, which is an internal thing, or it can be something external. But we kind of are standing on the banks and we go, wow, that looks really nice, right? And then we kind of go over and we put our feet in the water. We kind of stick our toes in. Ooh, that's not too bad. That feels pretty good. We get in the water and we kind of splash around, and the current, nothing's happening. The power of movement at that point is all completely dependent upon our own effort. You can get out, you can get back in, you can splash around. Sometimes the water's even back eddying and going upstream. It's pretty good. But if you get out into the water a little bit, what starts to happen? The stream starts to carry you. And then pretty soon, if you get farther and farther into the center of the stream, your own efforts are irrelevant in the power of what's actually carrying you along. Well, it's true of consciousness. It's true of thoughts. And one of the things I realized why I knew I was in trouble last week is because after living with her for almost 20 years, she just doesn't have anything that resonates with the qualities that make people fall. There's just nothing there. The second something shows up, she just takes and turns it toward goodness and kindness and sweetness. And I used to think, oh, this is Pollyannish. It's not. It's the most powerful thing I've ever run into. Is the capacity. This week, things go in cycles. Things go in cycles. And this has been a week of hospitals and medical stuff in my world. Not me personally this time, but it happens occasionally. But this time, 3 of my friends, 3 really dear friends, have been in the hospital or have had medical issues. One is a good friend. I've been working with him for about 25 years. He's a little older than I am, a couple of years or so. Which is still extremely young, I want you to know. In case anybody was interested. Pardon?
I said, you just had a birthday.
Yeah, well, yeah. You're relevant. As Yogananda used to say, when somebody would ask him his age, he said, I am one. I am one with eternity. His body, he's very fit, he's an athlete. We've been working together for about 25 years. But he went in for a physical, and he had his prostate numbers were up. And so we went and got a biopsy. And he just got it back Thursday, the information. And sure enough, he's got cancer. Now it's a slow-growing cancer and stuff. But his response was interesting. He said, no need to worry, no need to get concerned. Don't fire up the healing prayers. Just relax. We're just going to watch it. But God is doing what God wants with this body. And it wasn't an affirmation. It was just so clearly a lack of concern for the temporary things in the face of the permanent presence of God's joy. It's a moving target. It's a moving thing. I mean, some of you are very young in here. And some of us not so young, but still young. But what you'll notice is it just never stops changing. And everybody goes through, infancy, youth, middle age, older age, and gets off stage. And the 3 biggies are what? It's disease, old age, and death. Those are the things that nobody avoids, everybody, and it was what drove the Buddha to try and solve the mysteries of life. But he was just so anchored from years of meditation, from years of self-offering, from years of facing into whatever life brings in the presence of God that, oh, well, whatever this brings, and if it takes me off stage, if it takes me away from my body and gives me, sets me free in spirit, okay, I'm not worried about it. Another one was he had a surgery go bad, and he landed back in. And we saw him the day after he had the remedial surgery. And he was just cracking jokes and just completely free. And the other one just had open heart surgery. And again, and it was a significant surgery, but we were there when he woke up, and he was just cracking jokes and just, you can't affirm your way out of the dilemmas of this world. You can't affirm your way out of the trap of the mind, the trap of Maya. You have to do the things that give you an experience of yourself independent of the transitions, independent of the changes. And that's the spiritual path. I came to the path about 35 years ago. We're all on the path, but I consciously was seeking answers. About 35 years ago, I finally found the autobiography of a yogi. It was given to me, and I was thinking, whoa, like this guy, I think he's got it. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. And I wasn't that interested in appearing and disappearing on page 8. For those who've read the book, it's a little bit phenomenal. But what he was trying to show in that was the fact that there is nothing outside of God's consciousness that's not available. And don't get impressed by miracles. Don't get impressed by things, because there's something so much deeper than the surface story under every condition. But what he had was joy. What he had, you could feel it radiating from the pages. I had been very active, and I feel particularly empathetic with Portland at this time, because Portland is trying so desperately to get it right. Everybody's got the front yard garden. Everybody eats organically. We've got the best, we've got the best of everything. We have beautiful weather. I mean, it's Hawaii minus 20 degrees. Everything grows here. The great gardening tool is the machete. You have to beat it all back, whatever it is. And it's abundant, It invites contentment, but this downside of contentment is complacency. And, we're so good at the little microbrewery and the really lovely little, cafes and the fabulous foods, and everything's organic and everything's vegetarian. Everything's just perfect here. We just go to sleep. We think that, this is it, but it isn't. Did you know that you can get heart disease just as easily from organic butter as non-organic butter? Life's going to get you. You don't get out with the body. You just don't, no matter what you do, something's going to take you down. But we're also, I see people protesting for peace. I see people going down and fighting each other over the, divisiveness. We don't have any divisiveness in this world, and if you don't change, I'm going to beat you up until you start to stop being divisive. And we riot on behalf of goodness because we don't know what else to do. We don't know what else to do, but it doesn't work. I discovered for myself. I just realized no matter what I did when I was young, no matter what I did, the world really, frankly, didn't give a damn and wasn't going to change. And I was just going to beat myself silly trying to get it to change. So I started asking a deeper question. If that's the case, then how do I find my way in this world? And then I started reading everything I could find on spirituality. I was never drawn to Christianity. I was never drawn to Christ because I'd been proselytized at way too many times. So I didn't know where to turn. But eventually I started listening, and I started hearing things like, seek God first, everything else comes. I started reading the Dancing Woolly Masters and the Tao of Physics, and I read Don Juan, and I read, anyway, but in the autobiography of a yogi, for the first time, I found someone who had the wisdom to really understand how it all really works. This universe, there's so many subtle currents. The consciousness of God is so vast and subtle that it provides an environment for all these billions of souls on this planet to come and do a separate experiment of where does happiness come from. And every single one of us, we're here because we're asking that question. If you've got it figured out, you don't come back here. Because you know what? It doesn't come from here. The only time you come back, once you figured it out, is to help others sort it out. Because we keep thinking it's out there somehow. We keep doing all these experiments. You know, our beloved president, true of every president, but our beloved president at one time thought, gosh, it would be really nice to be the most powerful man in the world. I don't know how much fun he's having right now. It doesn't look like that much fun from where I sit. It looks like he's just getting beat to a pulp. And that's what happens. You know, every desire has a balancing element. Every desire. Sorry, gang. It's not, yours are not accepted. You know, every one of us, we're going to find the same thing. It's not that we don't need to act. We have to act. We are born into this world. God is playing something out through us. We have to be engaged. But we don't get engaged because we're going to get something back from it. We get engaged because it's our nature. And if you go deep into meditation, if you go deep into stillness, if you go deep into the presence of Spirit with those that have it awakened within them, you fill up from inside. You feel the power of Spirit from inside awake, and then it spills out through your service. It spills out through your actions. It spills out through your thoughts. That's why everybody liked being around these guys. Because joy was spilling out. They weren't trying to get joy from you or love from you. They were just so joyful, so free that, and you go, that's what life can look like. That's what it can feel like. I want that. And thousands of years later, here we are, still trying to tune in to that channel. Power is beyond time and space. That's how we rise. We don't turn toward judgment. We don't turn toward, when I get this position, when I can have this thing, when I get that in place, then I'll be happy. We go, where is happiness? We go deep into the stillness of meditation and Spirit. And we fill up. Because if you meditate deeply, you will fill up. You'll get up. I remember one time I was so stressed. I was having a really bad, like a bad hair day, only it was going on for years, and it was really brutal. It was just, every part of my life was just shredded. And finally I just went, I'd read the autobiography of Yogi, and there's a place where he goes into the meditation room and he vows he's going to meditate until he dies or until God comes, right? And I was just determined, the heck with all of this. And I went into the temple, it's down in Ananda Village, and I went in and I locked myself. There's a big party going out in the main area, but I just went into the temple and I sat down alone and I'm going to meditate, I'm going to sit here until I die or God comes. And I just focused my mind right here. It was not 10 minutes, I swear to God, it was not 10 minutes before there was so much joy running through my system I couldn't sit there any longer. It's always there. It's always there. And then it just starts to overflow. But then we learn it in this condition, then we have to go and we have to find it in other conditions until we find it all the time. Devotees rise by putting themselves consciously into the presence of Spirit in their own meditation, and by being around those who never let their minds go anywhere else. Be around those who hold themselves always in the presence of God, always in the presence of goodness, always in the presence of joy, always in the presence of love. And watch it resonate with your own inner nature. That's why Ananda exists. Support for meditation and to be around people who are committing themselves to trying to live in that presence all the time. And it's a global movement. It's a movement. I mean, this is a little tiny chapter of it, but it's a global movement. People from all over the world are so hungry for that wholeness that they're even willing to do the things that work. In about, Paramahansa Yogananda came, and he had so much magnetism that people, tens of thousands of people would turn out to see him. When he passed, he handed off the mantle, and part of that mantle fell on Swami Kriyananda. Swami Kriyananda became a voice for the power of God through this line of masters in Yogananda. And he, with the support of a small handful of people who were trying to tune into the consciousness of God through him, started to meditate deeply and hold service as the expression of their meditation, as the expression of their joy. And out of that has come a global movement. And when he passed the mantle off to Naswami's Jyotishan Devi. They hold globally, they travel the world now, sharing that consciousness. And they live in it. You can feel it just radiates through them, through their attunement, through their service, through their receptivity. They're coming here on the weekend of July 21st to 23rd. They'll be here. If you want to grow spiritually, if you want to draw on, you can get little bits from books, you can get little bits from outer things, but be in the presence of those who live it. Be in the presence. Come and be around these great souls. There's a short weekend. It's Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday service. It's a half retreat day on Saturday. It's a 2-hour meditation. It's going up and dedicating a 35-acre gardens to Paramahansa Yogananda. It's a meditation sanctuary. And then it's coming back and having a brunch together because, we have to balance the inner with our connection to this world. It's a song, relaxing, enjoying a meal, sharing uplifted conversation and company, and just joy is so much a part of the story. So now this is an infomercial, and I'm going to stop. For those that are hungry enough and want to really draw on to strengthen their own sense of joy and their own sense of involvement in being a channel. You can't give what you don't have. Being around great souls awakens within you that same thing and makes you a channel for something else. We'll never get it by protesting for peace. We'll get it by holding peace inside and radiating it to others. We'll get it. I was so touched by the 3 people who offered their lives in service to that higher thing the other day on the Max. They just simply stepped in to hold a higher consciousness, and it cost them their bodies. It didn't cost them their lives. It cost them their bodies. And one of them went out, and this moved me beyond words. He went out saying, "Tell them I love them. Tell them I love them." Those were his last words. And all 3 of them were all so different in outer form, but all 3 of them had a common connection in spirit. Their life, their karma, their dharma had brought them to that moment. That's what we need more of. We don't need more shouting. We don't need more flag waving. We need more people who carry the power of spirit and are willing to hold it no matter what comes, and to live in that and to share it. That's the joy of life. After service, for those who are interested and want some help, Ken, where are you? Ken will have a computer up, and he'll make it possible for anybody who'd like to register for that weekend through Bright Star. It's a little hard to find, so he'll make it possible. We encourage people to not only buy a ticket for themselves, especially for the Friday night, but to buy an extra ticket. Bring somebody. Share the wealth, share the moment. Who might really enjoy being in the presence, listening to beautiful music and feeling the uplifted vibration of people who carry this vibration around the world. So anyway, if anybody's interested, we'll end with this reading. It's number 108 in Whispers from Eternity, Yogananda's book of prayer demands and poems. O Father, may I behold thee, above, beneath, behind, around, wherever I turn my gaze. Train the children of my senses never to stray from thee, who dwellest at the heart of everything. Turn my eyes inward to thy changeless beauty. Attune my ears to silence, that I may hear thy subtlest music. Breathe on me the heavenly scent of thy sacred presence. Orient-wise, I will worship thee, placing the candles of my 5 senses on the altar of my love. Thus I will contact thee in the first pale shafts of dawn, absorb thee in the bright light of noon, expand in thee with the hidden glow of twilight, and merge in thee in the silver of night. Always will I keep alight on my inner altar the mystic taper of my love for thee. Take a moment of silence, and I think we have peace.
It is very useful. We're going to be playing a piece by Swami Kriyananda called Krishna's Flute. Krishna was another aspect of the Christ spirit, very much connected to him, of course.